Alright, so this is my final for ethics, in which we had 4 prompts that we had to respond to. The first one was, what are the ethical commitments of feminism, and are they compatible with, and consistent with, enhancing of, or required by a Christian virtue ethics? How so? Explain yourself. So feminist ethics seems to relate more to the emotional side of moral motivation, insofar as the emotions are what drives people to act. So they present the stigma against women, which it was or is that they are too emotional and that men are more rational. However, I like to believe that the emotions are an important part of morality. For example, this might be a little extreme, but the qualifications for being a psychopath is the deprecation of emotion, especially disgust. In turn, they'd be acting rationally for whatever crimes they commit because they are devoid of emotions. So feminist ethics to me seems pretty compatible with Christian virtue ethics. And a little quote I have from Julia Driver is, emotion was something that could prove instrumentally very valuable. For example, we ought to be cheerful in doing our duty, since that makes it much easier to accomplish the appropriate ends. And this is something that the morally good person should care about, on page 164. I don't like the idea of having moral duties, because I think morals are something that come naturally. But I do believe that emotions play an important role in motivations behind moral actions. Christian ethics is all about agape, and part of agape is caring for your neighbor. So it seems to be kind of impossible to act like a Christian while being devoid of emotion, or solely acting for reason, because we're called to care about our neighbors and not just do the best for them, but both. Number 2 is, which short story did I like the best, or what raised the most interesting ethical questions for you? So my favorite short story was The Story of Your Life, and my favorite quote from this was, quote, "Similarly, knowledge of the future was incompatible with free will. What made it possible for me to exercise freedom of choice also made it impossible for me to know the future," on page 137. So the ethical implications that struck out to me was ethical questions about the future. So if we were to know the future, how would we act morally? Would acting morally be analogous to acting towards the seen future? Then what if we must commit murder to reach our seen destination? What would be the correct decision in this case? I think personally this also brings up for questions, kind of the way that I think about it is like, it's so easy to be sucked into the present and act for immediate gratification, but on the same hand, it's also possible to be consumed by the future and by what the future holds for you, and just acting solely for a better future, or not even better future, but acting solely for the future. And in either case, there are questions of what action is right and what motivation is morally correct. So number 3 is, which aspects of the entire course did you enjoy most or work best for you? How so? And give precise evidence. I think the most enjoyable part of the course for me was learning to think through and apply ethical action into my life. I've always had kind of the question in my mind of whether how I'm acting is right or not, but I feel like now I have a good basis of how to act or what to act on. And while I definitely don't have everything figured out, I feel confident that I can engage in ethical conversations. And part of this, I think most of this for me, is kind of the implications behind my action. Sorry, I had to cut the video a little bit, but I was talking about the implications behind my action. So a big thing that I noticed this year was kind of my reasoning. I have grown to have better reasonings behind my actions rather than just acting for the sake of action. So the way that I think about it right now is kind of, in the past, if something was good and I knew it was good, then I would do it. but in cases where I didn't know what was good or bad, I would kind of just act for no particular reason. But now I think I have a good basis of to determine, or not to determine, but to balance out my my emotional reaction with my kind of reason-based reaction, and kind of act with both of those things in mind. And I think that's helped me a lot, especially when making like hard decisions. This year, it's been a rough year for me, but I think philosophy, in particular ethics, has helped me a lot with kind of just thinking through and really analyzing and understanding the situation, and kind of, just acting based on what is best. Maybe not for me, maybe not for the other person, but I think just what is best in general. And this is in response to both my emotional and my reason, kind of sides of my brain or my soul or whatever there is. So number 4 was, which aspects of this ethics course challenge you the most? And the most challenging part of this course for me was understanding the various ethical theories. I think the reading for this class wasn't too challenging, but the style was a bit hard to understand sometimes. There was so much information and important information on each page, and sometimes I would just miss a lot of it. However, when we would go over it in class, I feel like I would understand it a lot better, and this made it easier for me to make connections with these ethical theories in my own life, and also kind of maybe apply some of them, or at least further analyze some of them, and see if they're worth being applicable to my own life.